Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I am Tracy Cram Perkins, and our show today is Dementia Home Care. I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am the author of Dementia Home Care, How to Prepare Before, During, and After. And I want to give a special shout out to my viewers on Facebook. We're going to be viewing live once a month on the third Tuesday of every month. And joining us today is our special guest, B. Rhodes. B has a bachelor's degree in clinical psychology and is a certified life coach. She cared for her mother with dementia, and today she's going to be discussing with us how one session of using the dementia VR goggles changed the way she cared for her mother. B, welcome.
So much, Tracy, for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Well, I am so excited for our audience today to hear. You and I have been talking back and forth, and one of the things that I'm excited about is, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here?
So I found out, and I think it's important, my mother and my sister were on a trip, and upon their return, I got a call from my sister at the airport, and she said something was terribly wrong with our mom. And that was the beginning of what was going on with our mom. It truly changed everything, not only her life, but our lives as well. So it was a very, very long journey, and I will say that initially it was one of complete and total denial that something was going on and a lack of understanding of really what it meant to have dementia. So once it was established or reality set in, I realized that I had really lost my mom, my best friend. So I lost her twice. So it was a journey that spanned many years because she had other health issues. It was not possible over a period of time to take care of her in her apartment. So this is really how my journey, her journey, began.
I feel for you because I have also done care for my family. And so how did you end up starting your journey with your mother as far as caring?
So initially she stayed in her apartment. She did not want to leave, which is, not unusual. And it was basically running from work, running to her, seeing to her that she had her appointments with the doctor because she had a number of other issues going on that were not, limited to dementia. So initially, in fact, a number of years, it was going to, as I said, doctor's appointments, rehab, because unfortunately, like many, many people who have dementia, if they do get severe UTIs, which is not unusual, that also, because of the infection, that really increases the symptoms of dementia. At least that's what we found. So initially, this is how it started, and in the end, or um, after a number of years, it was a matter of finding assisted care, and that in and of itself was quite a journey in terms of not only finding the right place, and that's another story, I think, altogether, but monitoring her care, talking to the doctors, talking to the nurses, the caretakers, making sure that she was taken care of, but also that her dignity, and I think that's incredibly important, was respected. My mother was very private and very reserved, so that really added another dimension to her care in terms of respecting uh, how she felt about being, um, about allowing, I should say, others to see her the way she was. So that was really a journey that spanned many, many years until the end.
Okay, so when you were taking care of your mom, at what point did you finally decide you needed to take her in for uh, assisted care? I mean,
So I should put it also in the context that my mother lived in New York. So, and I lived in Westchester, and this is Westchester, New York. So there was a lot of going back and forth. What happened was that she would fall. She was a danger to herself, and following yet another hospital stay, of which there were many, the decision was made that she could not return home, and that at that point, she needed a higher level of care. So I'm just trying to situate it, in terms of years, um, maybe 2010, but I'm not even exactly sure of the year that this started, but it was a very, very, long, difficult, and complicated journey, at the point where we did, decide to have her in a facility which could provide the kind of care she needed that we could not provide.
okay, next question. So this facility that you have your mom in, is that where you first experienced using the VR goggles?
No, there were
Oh,
several facilities. So,
okay.
in terms of a VR goggle, and I actually looked at my calendar yesterday, but that happened November of 2014. I didn't even realize it was this long ago. But what I will share with you is that it had a profound, profound impact in terms of how I then looked at my mom and looked at others experiencing um, the symptoms of dementia.
So can you tell our audience how you were introduced, first of all, to the VR goggle?
So my mother was at a facility, and it was mentioned that there was a tour that family members, um, loved ones, could take that would give us insight into the world of an individual experiencing dementia. So I immediately signed up for it because even though I had some sense of things, I will say that going through this tour gave me an insight that was invaluable, and, it left an impression that to this day is indelible. So this is how I happened to, go on that tour and sign up for that tour, and, whenever you're ready, I'm, um, glad to share some of the details of that and how it impacted me, and ultimately how it impacted her.
Actually, if you could go ahead and just tell the audience what you experienced, because when you told me the first time, I was so shocked at what you went through. I think people will find it very shocking, but also very eye-opening. So please tell us.
Of course. So, the tour lasted 15, 20 minutes. I should say that it felt like a lifetime. So, I think I was, given some sort of footwear and goggles, and basically what I experienced was not even knowing, uh, truly had to put one foot in front of the other. Nothing felt solid, nothing felt concrete. The other piece to that was the incessant background buzz, if you will, where you could not really focus on what you were hearing or what you were asked to do. So that was part of it. The never-ending disruption, the no quiet time, which was a huge factor. Also, simple task, or at least the task we all find relatively simple, picking up a quarter, picking up a nickel. Some of that was actually impossible to do. Sitting in a chair, finding exactly where that chair was. The fear of falling because you couldn't really locate the chair, feeling disoriented, feeling mostly frightened. And as I said, this lasted 15 to 20 minutes. It felt like it went on forever. It was one of the more frightening experiences. Now, of course, I was conscious of the experience. I could identify the experience, but taking that to the next level of the individual who lives this way day in, day out during their entire waking hours, I cannot even begin to tell you how painful, difficult, and frightening that must be. And I will tell you that coming out of this tour, I realized that patience, yes, is definitely needed, but it's not just patience, it's the kindness that is needed when working with or caring or visiting someone with dementia. They are, I think the fear is probably what had the most impact on me. They live in fear. Um, I think that the impact of that was the most powerful piece of that tour. Uh, Again, repeating myself here, picking up quarters, sitting in a chair, and there were a number of other things. I don't quite remember exactly what they were, but it was an entire journey that lasted 15 to 20 minutes, but felt like a lifetime. So what I can share with the viewer, what I can share with anyone and everyone is please, please, please understand that being patient, in as much as it can be difficult, makes an enormous difference in the quality of life that you are giving the individual who has dementia. I think the goal is to understand that what we take for granted, they don't see, they don't know about, and you just want to give them the best possible experience with whatever time they have left. I cannot emphasize that enough. I wish I had known more before taking the tour. I cannot go back in time in terms of my mom, but I can definitely, or I'm hoping to get a message across of how important it is not only to be patient and kind, but also I would urge anyone and everyone and caretakers, family members, anyone to take this tour. It changed everything. It really did. I thought I was really a very on top of it individual with my mom, and in many ways I was, but this gave me a deeper perspective of what it is that people with dementia go through.
So, B, can you describe, because you described this to me once, what it was like for you when they had you with the gloves on and the VR goggles and you had to pick up the quarter? Can you describe kind of step by step how you did that and how it felt?
Yes. So I would see the shape of the quarter. I knew it was a quarter I was supposed to pick up. I knew there were coins. I think there was some sort of prep prior to taking the tour. But the unbelievably frustrating aspect of this was that I thought I was grabbing the quarter, but I was in fact not grabbing the quarter. I think I was able to manage ultimately the quarter, but I was not able to manage the nickel or the dime. And I, I felt helpless. I wanted to pick up that coin, but I felt completely helpless to do so. No matter how much I tried, no matter how much I reached for the coin, I just could not do it. It was truly an awful feeling because that translates into not just the coins, it translates to anything and everything that is part of our daily lives.
I cannot I, I cannot imagine having gone through that since I have not done it myself. But the feeling that you are conveying right now about the frustration and what they're going through, so many of us don't automatically know. We wouldn't even expect it. It's outside of our life experience, and it's the curse of knowledge. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so not having had the opportunity to experience it, not being able to see how to sit in a chair, not being able to feel how you're walking, I mean, that's a deeply emotional thing. So when you went through that, how did you personally change with how you behave towards your mother? I mean, how did you express the change in yourself to her?
So my mother was at a stage where I was not able to convey in words, if you will, what the experience was. But what I could convey was the understanding. What I could also do is look at her and think, oh my goodness, this is what she is going through right now. She can't do anything. And there was pain in her face because when she was more lucid at certain times than others, you could see the pain in her face. You could also feel the confusion. So, what I think I did basically do is convey mostly in gestures, whether it was holding her hand, kissing her on the cheek, putting my arms around her. Sorry, letting her know how much I loved her was really how I could best express how I felt and how much I understood and how much I embraced her and how much I cared, how much I loved her. I couldn't, describe the experience, but I could certainly, look at her when talking. I did a lot of monologues, I can tell you that. And I think that, just for her to hear the sound of my voice speaking quietly, or even doing things like bringing my iPad and looking at ballets with her, even though, she would look at them and sometimes, yes, she would focus. But doing all the things with her, even if sometimes I felt I was doing them by myself, to bring her as much joy as I could, I think that that was really the goal. Um, I mean, being endlessly patient with everything. I mean, being understanding and also really, really realizing this is not about me. This is about her. This is about making whatever time she's left the best possible time ever. So, anyway, it's a very emotional topic.
It is. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, because I do understand completely how emotional that is. And I'm actually kind of trying to cry myself. I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Everyone I've talked to, including myself, who's done dementia care, carries with them an extraordinary amount of guilt after their
Yeah.
loved one passes. Did you find that you had less guilt, perhaps, or did you have any guilt after your mom passed because of the way you treated her at the end? Did that help you?
That's a really, really good question. To this day, I carry guilt. And in fact, interestingly enough, as more time has passed, as I have processed this even more so, yes, I do feel guilt. But what I will say, the guilt was lessened by the fact that I had a better understanding of what she was going through. And I will say that I am sure that since the time I've taken this tour, I'm sure they've added to it. And Tracy, I cannot even tell you how much I would encourage you and others to take this tour. I mean, it's invaluable. And yes, I do believe that because I had a greater awareness and understanding. Yes, it did, lessen the guilt. I think that a lot of the guilt, at least speaking for myself, comes from the fact that initially I was in denial and um, I thought, well, she's got to be making some of this up. I mean, no one can forget everything like this. That's just not, possible. Because no matter how much you read about it, um, no matter how many documentaries, movies you see, it is not truly until you experience it that you really know what it is that you're dealing with. So I am hoping that by sharing all of this, um, even if the viewer has not or is in the process of experiencing it, I can convey what it feels like. And the more you do, the more patient you are, the more you understand. And this tour really was amazingly helpful. And I don't think I will ever forget it. It's been a few years, but yes, it will also lessen, I think, your guilt because you're doing everything you can with a broader understanding of what it is to have dementia.
That is so tremendous. I mean, there's nothing truly prepares you for it up until this point. I mean, until I heard about the VR goggles, I never even knew that existed, and I could never get into my after talking to you about this, it gave me such a different perspective on how to relate to somebody with dementia, understand what they're going through, because you were talking about the constant noise, that constant buzz that's going on in their ear that makes it almost impossible to concentrate. And it's something you can't forget because suddenly you're in a family situation, and you've probably experienced this, and I'll ask you to talk about it in a minute, but where they're sitting along and your loved one's going along fine, everything's going all right, and suddenly they just melt down and you can't calm down, and they just become angry, and there's this huge outburst. Have you ever experienced that with your mom?
So, yes, I mean, my mother had a number of these episodes, and mostly, during sundown. However, when there were gatherings, it was absolutely instrumental that people be calm, that no one have words with each other, which could be difficult because when you're in these situations, emotions are high. But one of the things that really makes a difference is to have as little as possible in terms of background interference, because the individual who is experiencing dementia is overwhelmed. And I mean overwhelmed by background noise. I'm just trying to think about it in terms of um, someone hearing, say, a trains going by or the subway going by all day long without interruption. It's always there. It's louder at times than others. It's interfering with your thoughts. It's getting into your headspace, if you will. And yes, it will create a situation where the individual who is living with dementia will conceivably explode, because the frustration level must be so unbelievably high. And I can relate to that in terms of the tour I took, because the background noise, the buzz, it's like you want to scream, stop, stop, just be quiet, stop. I can't think. You're you're in my ears, you're just leave me alone. It's a lot of these feelings that come into play, and they do for the rest of us under, normal daily circumstances, which is why noise, um, it's such a problem to begin with. But this is, um, the experience with something like that is even stronger. I tenfold, 20-fold, I don't know, for the person who has dementia. So yes, my mother did have these meltdowns, and they were not born of um, wanting to have a meltdown or anything like that. It was born of the frustration and of the fact that it was incessant and it was too much for her to take. So that is also something to consider when you are with a family member who has dementia, or you are in a facility where there's a lot of noise. It's something to be aware of and try to minimize as best you can.
And it's something that I think also would be lovely. Okay, I shouldn't say lovely because this is a painful experience, but if more people could experience this, I think it would be kind of an emotional cathartic release to understand, because the more we understand, the easier it is to cope with it. But because it's so far out, if you have tinnitus, you might be able to understand what somebody with dementia is going through because of that incessant buzz that's going on in your head. But it's that buzz on steroids to the point where you want to stick a knitting needle in your ear. And so I really appreciate you sharing that part of the experience with us. Did you have any other takeaways that can't come to mind?
Not just simply in terms of the tour itself, but I think the real takeaway is that however much patience is required, however long that individual is going to be with you, um, however difficult it is, try to cherish every moment, because once they're gone, they're gone. And yes, you have memories of them in pictures and so on and so forth, and anecdotes, but that person is not there. So every moment you can have with that person, every kindness, caring and loving you can give for that person, and to the extent that you can put yourself aside and yes, take a break, because you need these breaks, and you should not take care of yourself. I think it's instrumental to take care of yourself and to have, time away from that. But just love that person and know that they don't want to be this way, especially in the beginning stages when they go in and out. They do not know what is happening to them. And until the very end, or almost the very end, my mother did not know what was happening to her, and she knew something was happening to her. And she was so distressed at times. And so, yeah, love that person for as long as they're going to be there. So I think that's really what I want to share.
B, were you able to have other emotional connections with your mom? I mean, did you have moments where you had like fun with her and when she was going through this, where you guys just were able to connect on some small moment? And do you have a particular favorite memory from that?
Um, let me see. Oh, okay. I will tell you one of my favorite things. My mother loved pastries. She loved chocolate. So one of my and you get to a point where so what? They're not supposed to eat this, that, or the other. Who cares? Really, who cares? And one of the most joyous moments was to bring her dessert and see her wolf down the dessert and going, mmm. And my mother was French, so all of this she would express in French, I should say. But she would be so happy. She was like a little kid who got a candy bar, and she would just go and eat the chocolate cake and want more, and ice cream and all desserts, and the joy she had from that, yes, I will not forget. And another thing that was also very joyous, my son made her laugh with silly jokes and silly faces, and she would laugh. So, yes, I do have a lot of these moments that I really cherish. I actually videotaped her with my son who was acting really silly, and this goes back many, many years, and made her laugh. And yes, so yes, there are many of these moments that I cherish, or her looking at a ballet on the iPad, listening to music. Yes, many, many of these, but mostly it's like her eating chocolate and cake and pastries.
So, do you ever find yourself making that noise when you think of it? You know,
Yeah,
when
yeah, I do. C'est bon. Ooh. Yes, I do, and I think about all kinds of moments. I mean, her having a glass of water and saying, "Oh, that's so refreshing." And of course, all of this was in French. But yes, I do think about all that, and I do cherish those memories, and I do look at these pictures, and I will tell you, it's been over 6 years that she passed away. Um, she is in my thoughts almost every day, and I
that,
really miss her.
yeah, that is so understandable. I lost my dad about the same time you lost your mom, and I can so relate to what you went through. Although my dad didn't speak French.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
but yeah, there's always favorite memories that you can take with you that help carry you through.
and you're right. You're absolutely right about that, Tracy, because it's how I, related everything was really, really a sense of urgency in terms of your viewer who's experienced or who could be experience something like that. There is a sense of urgency to that, and I think
Mhm.
it's really important and, um, i necessary, if you will, to really, take part in a tour such as this one, but I absolutely think that there are moments that are amazing, and it's not all, I guess, doom and gloom, if you will, because those beautiful moments of joy, yes, are definitely moments I carry with me, and I really am thankful for you bringing that up because you can get very, very wrapped up in the emotion of the entire journey.
Oh, it's so true. It is so overwhelming, and we sometimes we forget to give ourselves permissions to have fun, and not having fun is only created through us. I mean, we don't realize we can give ourselves permission to have fun, and the fact that you allowed yourself to immerse yourself into the ballet, into the desserts, into the things that gave your mom joy, also communicated joy to you. I mean, that's powerful, so powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up because, again, you forget that, but it's true. And having joy, shared joy with the person you love is huge. It's that moment in time that is, that gives you such warmth, such happiness in that moment. So thank you very, very much, Tracy, for actually bringing that up.
Well, B, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today and for sharing your story, because there's so many people that don't even know that this exists, that this is a possibility of another way of connecting and just helping them get through the caregiving journey. So I want to thank you again for coming. And do you have any last things to say before we sign off today?
I really want to thank you very, very much for inviting me. I also want to thank you for the many conversations we had when I ran into you with your book and we started to talk, which brought us to this. What I also would like to share is that I would like to share more if given an opportunity with individuals, not only in terms of my own experience, but also to make folks aware that there are common threads to this experience, but they're also very individual. And I think the more you share, the more you are able to relate your story, your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, the more you can help others who are dealing with this, family members, caretakers. So, yes, I would very much like to have an opportunity to share more. And I thank you very, very much for opening that door for me.
Obi, it's been my pleasure. Thank you. And I also want to thank our audience for spending the time with us. And we will be back on August 15th. And our guest will be Suzanne Newman, the founder and CEO of Answers for Elders and the host of the nationally syndicated radio program and podcast Answers for Elders, the North Star of Navigating Senior Care. She cared for her own mother through vascular dementia from COPD and is a family caregiver coach. In the meantime, you can go over to our YouTube channel at USA Global TV and Radio and look for the Dementia Home Care playlist and find all the past episodes there. See you next time, everybody.
Bye.